Welcome in everybody to a Thursday night edition of the Joe Quills Show. I am that guy, Joe Quills, and I got a lot to talk about here tonight. We'll send you off and get you ready for the weekend. Weekend where I will be off from work. Thank God. The new moon hit today, and people were batshit stupid. But got a lot to talk about here, and as you see on the bottom of the screen there, we'll begin with the passing of Gene Hackman. Um, Even though we're a sports show, sports podcast, whatever. Um, I believe in the assertion from Jason Beam. Now I'm going to paraphrase it to my type of show compared to his horse racing show. If it's 51% sports, it's a sports show or a sports podcast. He says if it's 51% horse racing, it's a horse racing pod. Um, so we'll get into that because just give me my perspective of it a little bit. Greg Popovich returned to the Spurs um, today. Justin Tucker apologized again today. I'm going to give an open forum here. And, it's more about mocking the person that was giving me shit on Facebook. But I had a guy give me a bunch of shit for some thoughts I had about spring training. And I just want to know if you think I'm right with what I'm saying in general, and not necessarily because of the person that was the topic of discussion. So we'll give you thoughts about that. Feel free to chime in as well, whether you're on X, whether you're on the in the bleachers YouTube, my YouTube, or on my Twitch, twitch.tv/Joe Quills. So, but the one thing I will tell you is you should have the itch to go to Twitch because guess what? You can help me out get to affiliate. So, but I'll give you what I said. I'll give you my reasoning behind it and what this moron was saying back to me, and let me know if my generalities make sense, even though some of the things he said did make sense. But uh, it just seems like acting like I don't know shit about baseball. I do know baseball, and uh, and then we'll get into this update. If you remember Derek Bender, not Bendover, Derek Bender. He was tipping pitches to the other team, kind of like the way Jake Taylor was in Major League. Oh no, not Jake Taylor. In Bull Durham, um, Crash Davis. He was tipping pitches. You know, he says it. We'll get into that as well. So, and anything else that comes up, feel free to chime in and be a part of the show here. The more interactive, the better. Um, so I woke up this morning and I saw the news that Gene Hackman had passed away at the age of 95, 96, 94, whatever it was. Whatever it was in his 90s. Um, let's see. He passed away um, 95 years old, and his 65-year-old classical pianist wife, Betsy Arakawa, passed away. Uh, there, and there's, it seems to be that there's some suspicion with everything. Um, Now, I could tell you what I was thinking from the very beginning. Um, and you have a major actor pass away like a Gene Hackman. Um, it's going to be big news, and just the weirdness of it's like, well, him and his wife were found dead. There's no breaking in, no this, no that. So it's either one of two things. Oh, and their dog passed away too. So I'm thinking, carbon monoxide poisoning, or something. I mean, even now I'm thinking, maybe it's family related. I mean, you could think of a million different things here, but my main thinking right away was some form of um, a carbon monoxide poisoning or some sort of an accident. Now, the reason why I say that is, um, now I know my dad. He was still very smart, very, um, very with it up until his final days. Now, my mom, I'm sure somebody will go to my sister and say, "He said this about your mother," and she's probably at the point of life like, "I don't give a what he says." But I questioned a lot what my mom was thinking, and the what's going on in her head, because you would tell her to zig, she would zag. You tell her to do one thing, she would do the exact opposite. It was like in a way selective hearing, but it was more than just selective hearing. There was something that could have been wrong with her. But thankfully, I don't have anybody to give me shit about talking that. I'm trying to use generalized terms here. I'm trying to be as generic as possible here. I mean, since they're both gone, I think I have the right to talk a little bit about my parents here. But my sister is an egomaniacal person where she has to have control of everything. So, and you can pass that on to her. I don't give a shit. But um, you know, the one thing that came to mind to me right away was once y- once you heard like possibly CO poisoning. Um, the one thing I thought of was, did he leave something on? Like maybe he left a um, did he leave a stove on or something? Anything that would cause some sort of a CO2 thing or a natural gas thing, something where they would just suffocate or whatever you would expect them to do when well, I guess you would suffocate because, it's the lack of oxygen. So, you did have that. So, and the more you read about this, it seems like more and more that maybe there was something nefarious going on. Now, I'm going to read the original article that was posted early this morning. Uh, my articles are from the New York Post. It's only because I started reading that because that was the link I was using. So Gene Hackman was found dead at his home alongside his wife and their dog. Um, they discovered the body of the two-time Oscar winner, who was 95, and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, his wife, 34 years old, Wednesday afternoon. Um, um, the office initially said foul play is not suspected as a factor in these deaths at this time. Now, the key part when we go through all this is the fact that they said at this time. However, the exact cause of death has not been determined. Um, the bodies have been there for at least a day, and we have an update on that as well. Um, and that two of the couple's dogs were discovered alive. Hackman's daughter, Elizabeth Jean Hackman, told the outlet that the family suspected they likely died from carbon monoxide poisoning. So, um, some of this, it kind of looks to me as we go through this that maybe there was some sort of an accident. Maybe he left the stove on or whatever you would do to create CO, carbon monoxide. But now. Police wrote in an affidavit that was obtained by TMZ. The deaths are now being investigated as suspicious. The door to her home was unsecured and opened, and authorities also found pill bottles scattered through the room. Additionally, there was no obvious sign of a gas leak. Well, I would think if there's a gas leak, you just, if there somebody really wanted to do something, they could have just didn't give a shit that something, that they're the person that took out Gene Hackman, just light turn on the gas burner, light the match, So, uh, I mean, some of the movies he was in, um, French Connection, Bonnie and Clyde, Royal Tenenbaums. We know him from being the coach in Coach. I just want to get the character's name right. Coach Norman Dale in Hoosiers. He was in The Replacements as well. Those are the two that I know him from the most, only because I'm more of a sports movie guy. Replacements, Jimmy McGinty in 2000. Um, his last movie was Welcome to Mooseport back in 2004. Um, but um, he won 2 Oscars, 3 Golden Globes, and the Cecil B. DeMille Award bestowed in 2003. Um, so you did see that. Now, what I am going to do is, and this will probably cover the second article that I found here. I'm going to share my screen here, and this is the New York Post report on the happenings of the passing of Gene Hackman, and they title it "What We Know So Far." This is from uh, this was as of 2 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time. So here we go. One second.
Here's everything we know so far about Gene Hackman and his wife's deaths, the circumstances now deemed suspicious. During a February 26th welfare check called in by a neighbor, police found the bodies of actor Gene Hackman, age 95, and his 63-year-old wife, classical pianist Betsy Arakawa, in their Santa Fe, New Mexico home. One of their 3 dogs was also found dead in the unnerving scene. The deceased pet was lying 10 to 15 feet from Betsy's body in a closet of the bathroom, while the other 2 dogs were unharmed and running loose in the house. Hackman's body was located in a separate room. His daughter, Elizabeth Jean Hackman, initially told TMZ that the family believed the couple, who were married for 30 years, died from carbon monoxide poisoning by inhaling the toxic fumes. No foul play was suspected at first. However, new chilling details paint a different story, and authorities are not ruling out any cause of death. Police now say the deaths were suspicious enough in nature to require a thorough search and investigation. Notably, the front door was unsecured and open when 2 maintenance workers discovered the bodies after the couple hadn't been seen for 2 weeks. An open orange pill bottle and pills were also found scattered around the room. Authorities say it appeared that Hackman had suddenly fallen and that his body had obvious signs of death, similar and consistent with the female decedent. Even more disturbing, they say Betsy's body was found mummified and bloated. Adding to the mystery, according to a police affidavit, there was no obvious signs of a gas leak. The New Mexico Gas Company is working with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department in the investigation. Sheriff Adon Mendoza said the couple and their dog could have been victims of a double homicide, suicide, accidental death, or natural causes. Gene and Betsy were rarely seen in public since the legendary actor retired from Hollywood 2 decades earlier. Hackman famously played Lex Luthor in the 1970s Superman films and won 2 Academy Awards. The couple were arm in arm at the 2003 Golden Globe Awards, where he received the Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Achievement Award.
There's a line that I always wanted to say, "Top of the world, Ma, top of the world."
However, in 2009, Hackman revealed to Empire magazine that concerns over his health were ultimately why he chose to walk away from the glamorous life. The straw that broke the camel's back was actually a stress test that I took in New York, he said. The doctor advised me that my heart wasn't in the kind of shape that I should be putting it under any stress.
There we go. So there you see um, the story that they mentioned with Gene Hackman and the wife's body was mummified. And I just wonder now that you're seeing some of the things that we are now, um, obvious signs of death, body decomposition, bloating in the face, mummification, both hands and feet. She was found on the floor in a bathroom. Um, the door was left ajar. If they have maintenance workers, if it was a couple of weeks and why weren't they? I don't know. But it just seems like there's so much more questions than answers now. Um, I mean, this is beginning to sound like um, that there was something bad that happened, and you know, eh, it just he he had a full life, and nobody. I mean, if he was murdered, nobody needs to go out like that, whether you're 95 days or 95 years old. And you know, um, but yeah, it's just a sad thing that a legend died like that earlier today, or actually yesterday, or who knows. I mean, I'm sure the medical examiner will be able to determine, oh, he died on February 13th as opposed to February 26th when he was found. Um, but you know, the more you read into this, and I'm not reading into this as a conspirator. Um, Now, I do have conspiracy theories about different things. My buddy Mike knows that do, when I do have a conspiracy theory, I don't let it out to everybody because next thing you know, I mean, it's kind of like me being at my job, and you know, and this is why with a lot of things I do in my office at Redacted Company, I preface things, everything that has anything to do with my speak versus company speak or union speak. And I have to tell them this isn't me. This isn't the union telling you this. This isn't the company telling you this. This is how I feel. And I'm probably going to be wrong, but this is what I think happened. Now, I don't know what happened. And, it looked like it's a very secluded area there. So he could have just, you know, he could have just, something did happen. We know that, and who knows? And maybe, hopefully, he was smart enough to have security cameras and stuff like that because maybe if it's a family member, they were either too dumb or in too much of a fit of rage to realize that he has all these security cameras. And I'm just speculating because I don't know. I don't. I mean, I don't want to speculate, but it just seems like now, as when the news first broke this morning while I was sleeping to now, it just seems like something happened that doesn't seem right. And and we might find out, we might not find out, but a legend is gone, even though he was out of the spotlight for over 20 years. And it's a sad thing. And you know, Maybe I'll watch Hoosiers over the weekend. Maybe I'll watch The Replacements. Maybe I'll watch one of those classic movies that he won an award in. Classic, you know, I mean, classic in a, not like Turner Classic Movies classic, but, like French Connection, for example, or something like that. You know, but, uh, but unfortunately, Gene Hackman passed away at the age of 95. His wife passed away. One of his dogs passed away. Now, if one of the dogs passed away and the other two are fine, it makes me wonder, was there something nefarious going on? And I think there was. I just, some things I can say, and Mike agrees with me, very sad, great actor. Um, I mean, some cases I will say, but but with Mike, for example, I can say conspiracy theory shit, and I know it won't go too far. Um, but a lot of times when you like even something like this, being on Twitch, being on YouTube, being on X, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. All I can say is something happened. It doesn't seem like natural causes to me, but we'll find out what the medical examiner says eventually. But we got enough of that here, so so let's lighten the mood a little bit. And Greg Popovich returned to the Spurs today, and um, he's been off the bench since I think November because he had a mild stroke. Um, so Mike says you can watch Hoosiers, but don't watch the first Superman movie. Not good. Um, well, the two movies that I would watch, especially if I can find them on my Comcast um, or maybe one of my million streaming services I have, the two movies I would watch because even though it seems like most of the movies I watch are sports movies or have sports in them, even though they're not technically sports movies. Hoosiers would be one of the movies I'd watch, and I got that on DVD, so I can just pop it at any time this weekend. So I could watch that. Um, I would also watch The Replacements with Shane Falco as quarterback. Um, you know, and the kicker who's taking shaving points and shit like that, and all that other thing. So, but those are the two movies I would watch the most. So, um, uh, so yeah, so those would be the two movies that I would watch the most. But we'll see. But let's get to okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be watching 24 hours straight of um, 24 hours straight of his movies only because I already have no life. I like having no life and not doing a damn thing. But anyways, let's get to some of the lighter stuff here. Greg Papa, Popovich, he returned today to the. Um, he had an emotional in-person meeting with his team, who were all able to see him for the first time since his stroke in November. Um, After the meeting, Popovich issued a statement saying he officially will not return as coach this season, but hopes to return in the future. Um, he said, "I've decided not to return to the sidelines this season. Mitch Johnson and his staff have done a wonderful job and resolved the professionalism the players have shown. Sticking together during a challenging season has been outstanding. I will continue to focus on my health with the hope that I can return to coaching in the future." And the thing is, Greg Popovich, truthfully, I mean, and I know that if people want to chop this video up, you know, they can do it. There's nothing I can do about it. He doesn't have to come back. But you know what? Being a competitor, being somebody who had lost his wife a couple years prior, um, maybe, I mean, I'll give you two football coaches that um, this happened to, Joe Paterno and Bear Bryant. They both retired. They both were trying to retire. Bear Bryant did. Joe Paterno ended up getting fired because the whole Jerry Sandusky thing. Um, they didn't spend too much time in retirement because they both died fairly quickly. And the thing is, sometimes some people, their lives mean their work and everything else means so much to them that 2 weeks later you find out they pass away. And yeah, I think he has a goal in mind for when he's physically able to, if he's physically able to, that he will come back and be the head coach again. If he's cleared, even because we don't. And the thing is, with HIPAA laws and everything like that, we don't know how well he's speaking. We don't know how well he's thinking. We don't know anything. And truthfully, he deserves that right to privacy. Um, now, um, sources told ESPN that tears were shed from those in the room during Thursday's meetings with players, and players saw physical signs of what Popovich has gone through since the stroke. So if there's physical things that were physical signs that we're seeing, that doesn't tell me he's going to be coming back. But that's just me. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one. I don't think it's happening. But um, however, the meeting was filled with motivational messages, jokes, critique, and praise from the coach. Sources said. So it seems like he has his wits. It's just like maybe there's some issues, physical issues that we don't know about, and probably shouldn't know about. Let his loved ones see what he's going through. Let his team know what he's going through. Stuff like that. But outside of his small circles, there's no reason to share information other than, oh, he did have a stroke, he did meet the team, he did do this, he pooped today, stuff like that. He had a nurse that wiped his ass and said, "Hey, baby, want to wrestle now?" Or of course I turned it into a perverted thing, um, but he's the NBA's winningest coach, 1,412 wins. He has another 170 in the postseason. He won 5 championships. The team said it was a mild stroke, but I guess with added age, a mild stroke would be more serious than a typical. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. If there's a lucky lady that wants to play doctor, maybe I can play doctor. But Spurs have gone 22-30 since moving Johnson, an assistant, to the head coaching role. Um, Pop's visit to the team came a week after the Spurs announced that Victor Wembanyama, the Defensive Player of the Year at the time, and someone who was a serious candidate to make the All NBA team, will not play again this season because of a blood clot in his right shoulder. Um, Now, Wembanyama called Pop his biggest basketball influence. Pop isn't just a coach or a boss. Pop is a leader, and it's you know, hopefully he'll be okay. And like when something serious like this happens, I don't care how serious it is. Um, Even though a lot of us here that are watching on X, on Twitch, on YouTube, most of us, if not all of us, don't know a thing about Popovich personally. I mean, we know that he's a curmudgeon with the media. You know, he, but he occasionally when he does talk to the media, yeah, I mean, he's a curmudgeon with those first and third quarter timeout situations. That's you know, that's not an act, but in a way, he does. He did open up with Craig Sager when he came back from cancer the one time. Um, but but he does. He did talk to the media after games. He did throw political views into things and stuff like that. And I don't. You know, the one thing is whether you lean left or lean right. I'll listen to it. I mean, even if I lean the same direction as you do, I may not agree with everything you say. So, and I'm trying to stay away from the political shit. So, um, but I think the most important thing, whether it's Popovich, I said it about Tiger Woods a few years ago when he had his car crash. And I'm sure I've said it a couple of times about other athletes or whoever who had a life-threatening injury and they survived or whatever. Um, and I might be rephrasing it a little bit, but you get the idea of how I feel. Um, the one thing I will say is this: it's not the way that you've wanted to go out in your professional career, but it's okay. You can go back to. It's okay to be around your family, be around your friends, be around this. Like when it came to Tiger Woods after the accident, his car accident, I said, you know what? Be a father to the kids. You know, you've done you've done enough for the game of golf. I mean, if you want to come back, it's your decision. He came back, and he's still dealing with issues with all kinds of things. But I think that it's okay to say, I can't make it back. It's okay if you can't. We know, I mean, we know from, um, because I'm sure many of us have been affected by someone having a stroke. I'm sure we've been affected by someone who had a car crash. I'm sure we've been affected with somebody who had a heart attack. I'm sure you name whatever major event that occurred that threatens a person's life. I'm sure we've been affected in some way, shape, or form. And I won't stop somebody from wanting to come back if they are able to, but I will say, hey, it is okay to say, you know what? You don't have to come back. It's okay. But but I think with his wife passing away a few years ago, um, I think the team is his family. I mean, even though he does have family members, so I think he has an extended family and all that. So I think that he would do that. But um, but I don't know if they would actually, I don't know if they would actually do something like that. But that's just me. I know I'm probably wrong. Won't be the first time I'm wrong this week. So um, we'll see. So um, so yeah. Um, yeah. And like Mike says, if Pop decides not to come back, he has earned that right, plain and simple. You know, I'm not going to be the one to tell him, no, you're not coming back. Um, if it's anybody that tells him that he should not come back. It should be either his doctor or somebody from his family. The team itself is a gray area, but the two areas that definitely should decide his future are his family. Well, three: himself, his family, and the doctor. And it's best two out of three. But I don't know about you, but um, I would like to see him. I mean, in a way, I kind of want to see him come back, but in a way, if he's not physically able to, like, they're saying that there's obvious physical issues, you know, you don't have to come back. So hopefully that will be enough to, hopefully they'll say, hey, it's fine. You're still the best, one of the best coaches in NBA history, whatever you have to say. So, and, we go from a good story, we go to a bad story. Seems like we have this back and forth tonight, this yin and yang, or this ebb and flow. That's probably better description. But apparently, Justin Tucker has apologized again. He had his first public statement in a month today, and and even though he disputed the allegations a second time, he also offered an apology. He said in a statement to Outkick today, Outkick right wing, it devastates me to know that anyone I have worked with would not have felt respected or valued as a professional, but more importantly, as a person. As to anyone who has felt otherwise, I'm sorry. I want you to know that I'm committed to ensuring that everyone I interact with continues to feel that I respect them and I care about them as a human being. Um, Now, as we all know, he was accused of inappropriate behavior to 16 massage therapists from 8 Baltimore spas and wellness centers. And, the whole thing I told you with, um, you get to see, did he go to the Deshaun Watson School of Apologizing? Well, I don't think Deshaun Watson ever apologized. At least I don't think he did. Must be a Clemson thing. But, um, and just like, at least I don't think Deshaun Watson apologized. I could be wrong. And here's the thing, I had that one guy on Twitter. Oh, your football takes are horrible. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. You know, I may be wrong about some things, but I will admit when I'm wrong. And one thing Mike can vouch for me that I was correct with all along. It's just that you needed the perfect team to do it. Sometimes the best defense is a ball control offense. The Eagles had that ball control offense. Even if they only got a field goal, they would wear you down with a 7, 8 minute drive. They get that field goal, they get that touchdown. And like in the Super Bowl, they wore the team down little by little. And you're up 27-0. You're thinking, oh, we got to stop the run again. And one play touchdown, game over, drive home safely. So, you know, and that's he's probably telling his wife, yeah, it's one of the few things he got right. but um but the one thing I say about the whole Justin Tucker thing, and Mike laughs at that. Um the one thing that I will say, and we could say it about Deshaun Watson, whether he apologized or not, I don't know. Um, whether he apologized or not, that's another story. Um, where there's smoke, there's fire. And by the way, we might have to go through the Pope thing in a couple of weeks, possibly with the black smoke versus white smoke when they're picking the new Pope. Uh, but back to this, where there's smoke, there's fire. And the more that and we haven't seen anything else lately, but the NFL's not going to tell us what they know. Um, the Baltimore Banner, even though there's some paper we never heard of or website or whatever, the one thing is, it wasn't the Miami Herald that threw A-Rod under the bus. It was the Miami toilet paper ream or something like that. It was one of those rag papers, just like the Baltimore Banner, if that's an actual paper or just a website. With everything now everything in the world of cyberspace, probably don't even get a copy of the Baltimore Banner. You have to go to the website and see it. So, and just like A-Rod, it was some paper that those outside the Miami area never heard of that helped to derail A-Rod and got him suspended for a year and a half. And it may just happen that we don't know anything, we don't hear anything other than Justin Tucker proclaiming his innocence but still apologizing. You know, Personally, I think since it's the off season, you don't have to do anything unless something comes up and says, "Oh, 10 more women says that he has a tic tac for a dick." But he said, "Watch this, baby." You know, Unless you have 10 more women that, you know, say that he also did some things, and you know, let everything take its course. Then you can go to your agent. An agent is actually a lawyer. You do all the things you have to do, move on to it, do mention everything, get everything resolved. But the fact that we're probably in one of the early stages now, the thing is with Justin Tucker, and this is something that we will never know, probably, unless he gets exonerated of everything here. Does he end up, you know, does he get to play? Does he get to play the whole year? And does he show that last year was a fluke, even though he's 35, 36 years old? He goes there, he only misses one field goal. He makes all his 50-yard field goals and whatever. It's like, well, maybe he knew that this shit was hitting the fan and they didn't mention anything until Baltimore was eliminated. Because they figure, okay, well, let's see if they win a Super Bowl, then we'll let the shit hit the fan. But I don't really think, um, I mean, whether it's outkick the coverage or anything like that, whether you're right leaning or left leaning, if you're if you're saying that you're innocent but you're still apologizing, just lay low. At least that's what I would think. Unless your lawyers and your agents know that you're guilty of sin, then you go onto these coverages, go onto these interviews. But as we all know, there were 16 massage therapists from 8 spas and wellness centers. It reportedly occurred between 2012 and 2016, Tucker's first 5 seasons in the NFL. Yep. In other words, shut the fuck up. That's what I would say. Sometimes you got to bring out the F bomb to make your point known to some stupid people. Bank, welcome in. Hope you're doing well out there. Um, and everybody's starting to come in now. That's great. I love it. And especially for my next segment, because my next segment, I got some spring training questions, and we will get into that. And we'll see what you think about that when we get to it. And who knows, maybe it turns into a 45-minute segment. I'm okay with that. I wanna have some fun with it. Um, so Tucker originally not wrongdoing, blah blah blah. You know the whole deal there. Now, in a statement to Outkick, Tucker's wife Amanda addressed the accusations for the first time, saying, "The false accusations against Justin have caused so much hurt to our family. I believe my husband, and I love and support him fully." Now, the question is, was she a girlfriend, wife, whatever at the time, or no? I mean, she's still going to support him, obviously, because they probably have kids, whatever. Um, but I just think a lot of what they do, I mean, do I think something might have happened? Yes. I always, but the thing is, it's like 8 years after the fact. But, why did it take 8 years? That's the $64 million question. And, everybody can ask, everybody has their opinion. I just think that what you're seeing, I think, do I think he did it? Yeah, I would not be surprised. He's a young kid at the time, whether he was dating, engaged, married, whatever. Maybe he was just being a smart ass young football player and say, "Hey, baby, you want to get me off? You want to give me a happy ending, whatever." I'm sure that's what happened. I'm sure that came up. No, we don't do that here. Oh, I got extra 100 for you. No, don't do that. Stuff like that. And meanwhile, the show has officially been canceled because I made fun of people at that spa. But anyways, um, but the NFL's investigating it. Baltimore Ravens are, they can't just. I mean, especially since it's a first known offense of him doing something like this, the first investigation. You can't just you can't just release him because of that. Because you got to make sure that these things are real, and you go from there. But you just can't say, "Oh, no tolerance, goodbye." I think you go to that no tolerance threshold once you find out that everything is true. He loses his case, and it may be that it takes a couple of years that we find out what happens. We won't know, but something did happen, and we'll eventually find out. So before I get on to the interactive part of the show tonight, just a reminder, also eligible is live on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on the Bleacher Brothers channels. I will be looking at the races from Gulfstream, Aqueduct, and Santa Anita. Um, we're definitely doing 5 races. I might do 6. So it's going to be a long week. It's going to be a long prep for me. Um, and maybe hopefully some money involved too. But uh, we'll be looking at the Gotham, um, the Fountain of Youth, and the um, Jesus Christ. I knew the races off the top of my head, but now I don't. Um, this Saturday is the Gotham in New York. The Oaks race is the Busher. At Gulfstream Park, you have the Fountain of Youth and the Devona Dale, the Derby and Oaks races. You have the San Felipe at Santa Anita. So you got 5 different races there. They also got their signature race, the Santa Anita Handicap. Now that's been poached over the years. It used to be $1 million race. It's still a great one, but the purse is only $400,000. They'll be going a mile and a quarter for older horses. So that'll be race number 6 that we'll look at. So we'll be looking at 6 races on Saturday, and hopefully I can give you guys some winners. And Mike, I do have some breaking news for you here. I got to do it. I picked a winner today. Yay! Now, granted, the horse paid 420 to win, but this was my reaction from when I looked it up after the fact because I forgot. I forgot about the race being live because I was working and I took the wrong lunch today because I'm a dope. Uh, but this was my reaction today when I saw that my horse had won in the feature race at Santa Anita at Gulfstream Park this afternoon. There you go. George Carlin, holy fucking shitballs. And I could hear it in his voice saying that too. Because I have been ice cold and finally got a winner. And hopefully I can make it 2 in a row tomorrow. So, so yeah, I did finally pick a winner. Granted, it was a favorite that only paid 420 to win, but I read the race pretty good. So, and Mike agrees with me. That's about right with what I was saying about that. So, yeah. So, I am going to tell you about my afternoon. Now, for those that know the type of job I have and, working in customer service at Redacted Company, I occasionally have 3, 5, 10 seconds that I can actually say something, um, make a comment, things like that. I got to find this here. Um, so there was a link on Facebook today, and it was from PhilliesNation.com. It's one of those um, typical Philly centric sports sites that are below other Philly centric sports sites like Crossing Broad on Pattison, stuff like that. So they asked this. They said this today: do you want to see Kyle Schwarber play first base for the Phillies in Clearwater? This is the response I gave. I replied to the article. This is the time of the year to experiment, especially if you have an injury to another player. Now, granted, Kyle Harper, Bryce Harper got hit in the tricep yesterday with a pitch. Now, here's my thinking behind it. Now, Mike knows more about the Phillies than Bank Boy would, but we can talk about this in general as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be Kyle Schwarber, but Mike will be saying more along the lines of Kyle Schwarber than anybody else. And those watching on X and YouTube, feel free to chime in as well. Um, my thinking is this: how many times have we heard a pitcher say that, oh, the reason why I got lit up for 6 runs in that spring training start was because I was experimenting with my curveball or my slider or my splitter or whatever. You know, this is the time of the year where you do some weird stuff every once in a while because You never know. Yeah, several times Mike's heard that. So my whole thinking is, if you're going to put Kyle Schwarber at first base, you have him make an ass out of himself right around now, the 1st of March. You make him realize, oh, dear Jesus, he's god awful here. We're not even going to attempt to teach him first base again because he did play first base briefly with the Boston Red Sox when he got traded for Washington. I would rather experiment with somebody like a Kyle Schwarber, occasionally put him at first base, and I'd rather put him at first base for a couple of days because Bryce Harper's going to be the first baseman, even though I prefer him in right field. Bryce Harper's going to be your first baseman, but what happens if Bryce Harper gets hurt? You want to know what your options are beyond even an Alec Boe moving from third to first. You want to make sure you have other options available because we know this sometimes too, not just in baseball, but in all sports. Once one guy gets hurt, you'll have 3, 4, 5 more injuries. And the next thing you know, you're like, what the hell do we do with our lineup? Well, this doesn't necessarily mean Kyle Schwarber's taking over the first base position full time. Now, granted, I never even read the article. I already got the gist of the article. And I gave my opinion without even have to reading the article. And my opinion is, why not do it now? This is why you do things like that, even if you put them in there for a couple of innings. Well, this one doofus, his name is Richard Bauer. And first of all, he spelled wasting wrong, Waisting, instead of wasting, Wasting. Um, so he says, exactly. So why is he wasting time putting Schwarber there? Stupid idea. And Mike can see him playing first base. Now, I can see him playing in an emergency. What happens if you get into one of those games where a player or two gets hurt and you have no other choice? You got to put Schwarber out on the field and you got to have the pitcher hit. You have to be prepared for everything. And that time to prepare yourself for a game that does not go your way, a couple of players get tossed, whatever. You have to, this is the time to see, well, what if we did this? Then you sit there May or June, Harper's hurt, Bohm's hurt, and Rob Thompson is there coloring his hair because I highly doubt that's black hair. I guarantee you that's painted. I guarantee you he's sitting there thinking in May, man, I wish Schwarber could play first base for us. But also remember, Derek Hall, who was blocked at first base because Harper went to first base, he's now in the Pittsburgh organization. So you don't have that option available either. Now, I don't know about you. I just think um, well, actually, this was the first post. Actually, I think this was the first reply he gave me. Harper turned into one of the best first basemen in baseball. You don't experiment putting Schwarber there. It would be a disaster with Turner on short and Bohm at third. Turner has been the worst shortstop in the league, and Bohm has improved a lot, but still has a way to go. And Schwarber at 32 is not going to become a good defensive player. Another stupid idea by Thompson. Okay, yeah. Trey Turner hasn't been that great at shortstop. And Mike says it best: you need to keep your options open. You don't want to get into a position where you have um, Roman Quinn pitching and Vince Velasquez in left field, even though Vince Velasquez got 2 outfield assists in 1 inning. You don't want to get yourself in that position, but you're preparing. I mean, I'm sure Mike remembers this. Remember when Ryan Howard, they tried to put him in left field when they had both Tomey and him, and Howard was probably half a season away from the majors, and they said, well, let's see if he can play left field, and they couldn't do it. That's what you're doing here. It's the same thing, except you're changing him. You're changing an outfielder who went to DH to occasionally be a first baseman. Now, this is the time of the year that you do it because guess what? You can give somebody else an opportunity. Yeah, Ryan Howard was another disaster. So I'll give you. Harper turned into a damn good first baseman, even though I prefer to see him in right field. I didn't dare say that because God forbid, I don't want to deal with somebody thinking I'm arguing with them. I wasn't even trying to argue. I was just stating a point here. So I replied, and he actually liked the statement, believe it or not. He actually liked my statement here, and I have some mod duty I got to do. Um, there we go. There we go. So that's taken care of. So I said, we don't need Schwarber to be good. Just need him to be adequate enough to play there in an emergency situation. I rather play around and try different things when the games mean even less now in spring training, knowing there are all kinds of experimentation going on with pitchers trying to throw new pitches and wondering if somebody else can play a certain position. I'd rather see that experiment fail March 12th instead of September 12th. So I get a typical Phillies fan response, and sometimes I give that same result answer to somebody from time to time. He says, Schwarber has no business playing defense. He is 32 and he sucks. Yeah, defensively he sucks. That's why he's still with the Phillies because of the designated hitter. But he continues. The Phillies have struggled defensively fundamentally with all situational baseball since Thompson has been in Philly, and putting Schwarber at first is ridiculous. If anyone should play there once in a while, it should be Real Muto and Bohm. And I replied back and didn't get a reply to it. JT needs to get out from behind home plate, and Bohm already has that flexibility of playing first base. So maybe with doing this podcast and stream and everything else, maybe in some regards, even though I'm wearing the Phillies hat tonight, maybe I'm showing that I can take a neutral view on things. And Mike knows that I will take neutral views, and he knows that I am not afraid of picking against my teams in a game. He's seen it quite a few times. Why the hell did you pick them against the Eagles? Gut feeling, you know. And the thing is, when I give you my Philly fade picks, by the way, they'll be back next week. Um, they may even be back Saturday on also eligible. Um, you know, I have no problem picking against my team if it means jinxing the other team for my team can win. But given the time of the year that it is, you don't have to send anybody down to the minors to train for an outfield position or an infield position or anything like that. You do what you have to do. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's all. The fact that I remember that Ryan Howard was a walking disaster in the outfield in 2005, 2006, 2004, whenever that was, just the fact that I know that and Mike remembers it shows that we're diehard Philly fans. But I am not afraid of I am not afraid of going more towards the neutral and looking at things without my Phillies hat on, you know, without my Phillies coat, my Phillies jersey, whatever I'm wearing. Today it's Arizona State because I felt like wearing that today. But am I right? And those, especially those on X who want to chime in or on YouTube, feel free to chime in. If I'm wrong, okay, then so be it. I just see this time of the year as okay, well, Kyle, can you play a couple innings of first base here in the spring training game? Or even if you have a split squad game, where half the team goes to Bradenton, for example, and the other half stays at home. Hey, Kyle, will you play first base at Bradenton for us today? Yeah, sure, no problem, blah, blah, blah. You know, and if it's a mitigated disaster, then you say, okay, Kyle, I apologize. I heard what happened. What do you think? Okay. Well, this coach said, if you want to work on a little bit more, we can, or we can just scrap it. This is the time of the year that you do it. You don't do it in the middle of a pennant race unless you know somebody has a background, a fairly good background at an old position. And Kyle really didn't have that great of a position at first base. Matter of fact, let me see something here. Baseball reference. Let me look at his defensive numbers here. Well, I'm not looking at numbers in terms of errors or anything like that. I couldn't care less about that right now. I'm more concerned with just the fact that you had um, I'm not looking at even his uh, his fielding percentages or stuff like that. I just want to see what positions he played. Um, he played 10 games in Boston in 2025 or 2021. Played 25 games in the field, 15 games in left field, 10 at first base. He played 4 games at catcher, 1 game at first base in 2017. He played 1 game in 2019 at first base. I wouldn't be surprised if 2017, 2019, those were, um, those were um, Joe Madden saying, "Yeah, we're going to put you first. We're going to put the pitcher in left field." The stupid shit that he did. So, he doesn't have many games at first base, and rightfully so. But you know, given the fact, given the fact that you do have this point of the season, you can actually say, play first base for a couple innings. We'll do whatever. Um, Actually, Kyle Schwarber did play first base today. Now that I look at it, um, um, okay, so there's no real update on what he's doing there, how he did today. I mean, this time of the year, you do crazy shit like that. That's the point I was making. And I mean, Edmundo Sosa played left field today. Kyle Schwarber played first base. I mean, but they're trying to see if Edmundo Sosa could play left field. They're beginning to work on expanding his role into the outfield because he is a utility player. Um, you these are the things that you do. And, you know, I'd rather have it failed by March 12th because you're experimenting because it's the exhibition season than in September 12th because you had to put him at first because you had nobody else to play there. And the good thing is, and especially if I get to the point where I have guests on the show. Now, I don't know if he's actually paying attention to um, everything right now down in Clearwater. He probably is. Uh, yeah, Phillies don't want to be caught flat-footed, plain and simple. And um, one guy who does work with the Flyers, with the Phillies, in terms of writing articles for on Pattison, fellow prep alum Anthony Sanfilippo. We were at a Eagles party during the regular season, and I said, "Ant, let me ask you this question: since you're in tune with everything with the Phillies and Schwarber, I think he's the type of leader, especially where he will be the guy where he will lead by example with some things. He'll be vocal in other things, but you know, I would love to have somebody like an Anthony Sanfilippo who will not be afraid to tell me I'm wrong. And I will even preface, feel free to tell me I'm wrong. Or you can just, you can agree, you can disagree, whatever. You can blast me one. I don't care. I asked him last year, after that first time around the lineup, and, not even the first time around the lineup, does it really matter who's in the number one hole after the first at bat? And he said, no. Now, in a way, you kind of do because, you want to get somebody who wants to get on base. But if you have somebody who's in the nine hole that can get on base, then you're setting things up for the second time around the order. Other than that first inning where you want to have that guy who gets on base. And the thing is, Kyle Schwarber struck out way too much. We know that. But he also walked way too much too. And one thing that we did see a lot last year, especially when the Phillies got off to that crazy start, was that they were situationally hitting a little bit better. Well, actually, a lot better than previous years. You didn't see Kyle Schwarber going for the 5-run homer. I'm only wrong about my shirt, but you know, but I'm not. You know, the thing is, and I say this all the time, I am more than happy to tell you guys. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but just don't be an asshole about it. You know, Mike knows me well, probably too well. Even though he does agree with a lot of things that I say because we think way too much alike, he knows that if you bring constructive criticism the right way, I will listen. This guy, it was borderline, but you know, I was busy working on top of it, and I just didn't want to deal with getting into this protracted fight over Kyle Schwarber playing first base. And holy, holy, wait, let me get that Twitter page up because I have this to say right now, ladies and gentlemen. I do have this to say when it comes to because we just got rated by Action Labs, and I do appreciate everybody coming in. Welcome in, guys. I do have to say this because, and I will say this here, and if you're Virgin Eye, if you have Virgin Eyes, you don't want to see this post here, but I'm going to share this, and this is what I have to say when I saw that pop up on my screen here. There we go. That's what I said when I first saw it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Holy fucking shitballs. Welcome in, everybody. Do appreciate everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Joe Quills. I am with Bleacher Brothers. I host my show here every Monday through Thursday at 9 o'clock, and I also host a Saturday show called Also Eligible. Also Eligible is my horse racing show that is on the Bleacher Brothers channels. We go 10 a.m. This Saturday. We're going to be talking Aqueduct, Gulfstream, and Santa Anita. They got 6 big races. 5 of them are Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. I'll see if I can give you a winner. And I finally got off the schneid today. I got a winner today for you guys on the Bleacher Brothers page. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitch here. Follow me on X at Joe Quills. Everything's Joe Quills that I do here. I think I have it here. God, I don't remember the comments. So, um, Nikola Jokic needs to know about that racing show. Isn't he a harness guy? Because if I'm not mistaken, um, Nikola Jokic would be best suited because he plays in that part of the country where there is exactly zero harness. The closest is probably whatever track in Alberta is running that time of the year when the season's over. But once the season's over, hopefully after Action Lab Sports wins them another championship, maybe he takes his horses over to the Meadowlands because not only can he run at the Meadowlands, he can run even in Canada at Woodbine Mohawk. He can run at Yonkers. I don't think he wants to go to Monticello. That's poor man's money. Or he can go to one of my local tracks, Harris, Philadelphia, in Chester, Pennsylvania. And for those that know Chester, Pennsylvania, you know that, bad city, a lot of crime, whatever. But Chester, Pennsylvania, that area, Chester, is on the good side of the tracks, literally, because there are train tracks that go through Chester, Pennsylvania. But yeah, he needs I would love to see him bring a horse down, bring a couple of his horses over to the United States. Run them at the Meadowlands, run them at Yonkers, run them here at Harris, Philly. Uh, run them at Pocono Downs, oh, Mohegan Sun Pocono, I'm sorry, things like that. So, but yeah, but I do appreciate Action Lab Sports. Usually, I'm the one rating him, but he's rating me tonight. So I think this will. I think I have it set up here, and if I don't, it's a project I have to do this weekend. There you go. I do have that set up. Now, do I have this set up? You can see I've gone ADD and then some just now. So there's the Bleacher Brothers. That's the um, also eligible stuff and all my socials. So I actually figured it out. So, but yeah, so that's all my stuff there. Feel free, you know, and also, love to have you here on Saturday, and we'll see if we can get you some winners on Saturdays, and we still have some topics here to talk here. So, but what the one thing I was talking about here, if Action Labs wants to chime in on this, what I was saying is I had a little disagreement. I mean, we didn't get into a full fledged argument or anything like this. The question was, do you want to see Kyle Schwarber at first base? And my response was, at this is the time of the year to experiment, especially if you have an injury to another player. Meaning, let's say Bryce Harper gets hurt in June, you have Alec Bohm available. You could place Kyle Schwarber there in emergency. You can do this, you can do that. That's what I was saying. And I got grilled for it. So, I mean, Mike says I'm right way up here. Um, uh, well, he did say it, trust me. It's just that I had too many. I flooded the chat too much. So, but yeah, the one thing is, if you're going to experiment with a player and say, let's see if he can play third base. Let's see if he can play first base. Let's see if he can do this. Let's see if he can do that. Um, you can actually find some things that just don't realize happen. Like, oh, by the way, like for example, Zach Bond. Who knew that he would be the middle linebacker for the Eagles this year? Who knew he would be that good, other than Howie Roseman? This is what I was saying when Zach Bond started the opening day.
Who the fuck is that guy?
That's what I was saying. But now I can call him a champion. But you know, I don't know about you, but this is the time where you experiment with players doing different things because you never know when you're going to need it. And if it fails, I'd rather have it fail March 12th and not September 12th when you are screwed. Exactly. Action Labs agrees with me too. Chris believes me. Um, you don't know until you try. But Kyle Schwarber did play 20 some games at first base from what I saw here. So it's a very small sample size, but they're not making Kyle Schwarber be the first baseman of the future. What happens if you trade Alec Bohm? What happens if Harper gets hurt? What happens if this guy gets hurt? What happens when you realize, oh shit, you shouldn't have got rid of Derek Hall? Okay, we're in an emergency. Kyle, emergency situation. You're playing first base today. That's what you do. So, so that is basically what happened to me today while I was working. The thing is, I'll be sitting there between calls because some of the calls come in like today at 6:30. I mean, I barely hit that release button, and next thing you know, bam, another call. Release it. Do what I had to do with the call. Boom, another one comes. And there are times where I can look at my phone like this, la di da di da di da. And by the way, Pittsburgh beat the Flyers 5-4 tonight. What the? But when you're looking, I'm looking at this. I look at Facebook. I look here. And actually, I'm starting to look for stories for tonight's show because I piece things together last minute, but I'm always thinking during the day. Well, do I want to talk about this? Do I want to talk about that? I'm looking, and I saw that story, and that's where I got it here. So, things do pop up from time to time, and and if you follow me on Facebook or you're friends with me on Facebook, you know, I am going to post a lot of stuff on Facebook, and Mike knows this all too well. And Flyers are up 3-1 and 4-2. Yep, that sounds like the Flyers, only because that they're in that let's tank or whatever they're doing down there in South Philly. But you get the idea. Um, but I just like I'd rather experiment now, and we'll go from there. But that was a good topic here, and thankfully, Action Labs came in perfect time. We're in the middle of a discussion here. We had some good action, and we got even more action from Action Labs. So I do appreciate everybody who joined in so far. And we got one more story that we have here. It's a bit of an update from last September. Heyo. So we got one more story here, and um, do you remember, you guys? And you might not, and perfectly fine. Remember the catcher that was a 6th-round pick out of Coastal Carolina? He was in the Minnesota Twins organization with Fort Myers. He was tipping pitches to the other team. Now, the only reference I can have, and we were talking about Gene Hackman, and I was telling you about sports movies, and we were talking about other movies on top of that, and my hands are moving way too much. Um, Now, in Bull Durham, we have a scene where Crash Davis says, "Here comes the fastball," and when you hit it, talk me or whatever the line is. So tells him it's a fastball. Hits one. He hits the bull, gets a steak on top of the home run. Crash Davis goes out to nuke. It's almost like you told him that he told him that the fastball is coming. I told him. Now that was made for Hollywood, but this was a case where you question the integrity. You're questioning the integrity of the game, especially a game where apparently you were still in playoff contention last September for the playoffs for the Florida State League. Derek Bender, he's the former Minnesota Twins minor league catcher. He's under investigation for telling opposing hitters what pitches were coming. He denied the allegations in an interview with The Athletic as he remains out of professional baseball. First of all, why are you talking to media? Especially, this is the same situation as Justin Tucker. Just shut up. You're not making yourself look any better by talking to the media about what you allegedly did or didn't do. Now, granted, if I'm in that situation, I'm probably going to say, "Hey, I didn't do it either." But the thing is, you know, if get caught in a I get caught at I Heart Massage on North 9th Street around the corner from the redacted building. You know, I didn't. I was just sitting there and blah blah blah. Yeah, well, your pants were around your ankles, but we all know the Turner thing. But with this, you know, you're in a playoff race. Now I can understand if you were like 25 games out of first for the second half of the season. It's the final week or two of the season. So why are you doing that? But um, when he was asked if he gave away pitches to opposing batters, he said no. And I'll live with this until the day I die. I never gave pitches away. I never tried to give the opposing team an advantage against my own team. However, now, according to sources that told ESPN, Bender told teammates he wanted the season to be over. Bender said he joked to his teammates about letting a ground ball go under their glove, but said he wasn't serious. Okay, I got a question for you guys. And this goes along the lines with my basketball thinking. I'm the type of person where if you're up 10 points, shoot that wild ass three. Because if it gets me off the court 5 seconds earlier because you back rim that three and it goes all the way to big court, I would rather have that extra 5 seconds run than you standing there like we're supposed to do now because it's too unchristian like. It's unlike Coach K's rules that you can't take that shot because you're much better than that. No, I'd rather you shoot a wild three, miss it badly, at least get rim so that the clock can continue to run so we can get on the bus quicker. But that's just me. But so he did say those things, but the thing is, you're telling somebody to, even if it is joking, to let a ground ball go under the glove. Well, guess what? Your pitcher throws hard, has to work more. Your other teammates have to work more. You have to work more. Baseball is the type of sport where you cannot do something like that without the consequences of being out there on the field much longer than what you want. But Derek Bender was a 6th-round draft pick out of Coastal Carolina in July, was playing for the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, the Twins Single A affiliate. It was the second game of a doubleheader. Um, and I see your post, Mike. I'll highlight that in a second. Bender told multiple hitters for the Lakeland Flying Tigers, the Detroit farm team in the Florida State League, that the specific pitches being thrown by starter Ross Dunn, sources told ESPN at the time. And yeah, there's some things you don't do. Now, I don't know if he would say, well, yeah, I only did it because I saw it in Bull Durham. Dope, that's a movie. Do you really think they do that all the time? Like maybe you do it once in a while, or maybe you tell them it's a curveball coming, and it's like, yeah, it's a curveball, and damn it, you got that curveball, and you got frozen, or you have a guy who, um, you tell him it's a fastball. Say, yeah, sure, it's really a fastball, and don't you know it's a damn fastball right on the corner. But if the team scored 4 runs in that inning when he's tipping the pitches in such a way, that tells me he was tipping pitches. And not only that, maybe saying, well, not only am I throwing a fastball, it's going to be in the inside half, or hopefully it's going to be in the inside half. Got to roll, but I'll be back for next stream, brother, for all you do here. Yeah, do appreciate it. I will see you Sunday night. Action Labs is live Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Sunday usually starts around 10 o'clock. Give them a follow. Tell them I said hello. Well, I said hello too, but join them. They'll be live on Sunday around 10 a.m. 10 p.m. Eastern. They're out in Denver area, so give them a roll. I do appreciate them following me tonight, rating me tonight. Jesus, this is what happens when you work a full day and then you do this stuff too. It's like your brain doesn't work. But it isn't a Joe Biden thing. It's just a Polish thing for me and an ADD thing for me. So Action Labs, thank you so much for the raid tonight. Do appreciate you guys and everybody who's watching tonight. Um, yeah, Kevin Costner did it to prove a point. Don't shake me off. And even if you do, even if something like that is true, a one pitch thing is not throwing a game. But the problem is, even with Pete Rose, and we can go down this road another night, if Pete Rose, you know, even if Pete Rose just bet on the Reds, you have to question some of the moves that he had. Oh, you're bringing in your closer in the seventh inning instead of the eighth. You're bringing this, is the move that you're making here pinch hitting for this guy? Are you doing it for the integrity of the game, or are you doing it because you're trying to win a couple $1,000 here? That's why Pete Rose will never be in the Hall of Fame, or at least he never got to see it while he was alive. That's the thing. And this catcher did the exact same thing. He tried to get away with it because guess what? You know, was he overworked? That catcher probably, because he played a full season of college ball, got drafted, probably played some summer league ball in between because am I going to get drafted? Am I going, Then he ends up in Minnesota's system, and rightfully so. They cut his ass. Now Lakeland did score 4 runs in the second inning and won the game 6-0 to clinch the Florida State League West Division and eliminated the Mighty Muscles from playoff contention. Now, here's the integrity part that you don't necessarily see or would necessarily hear, but after reading this earlier tonight, I give the Lakeland staff kudos for this. Because this wasn't a throw their catcher under the bus because he did this. You try to turn it into some sort of a learning lesson, some sort of a lesson for him. Now, granted, because the integrity was shot to hell, you do have the integrity of the game being questioned. The Fort Myers coaches were notified by the Lakeland coaches about Bender's tip pitching after the game, sources told ESPN at the time. You could have. Now, I'll ask this question. Who would you rather have tell the Fort Myers coaching staff that this catcher was tipping pitches? Would you rather have a 20, 21, 22-year-old kid, or would you rather have a coach who's probably been major league in some sort of a baseball coaching and playing career for 20, 30 years at that point? Would you rather have a coach tell you, or a player on that Lakeland team? Because the Lakeland players, in my opinion, if they said it to the coach, I'd be like, yeah, sure. But I think that Lakeland showed the integrity, saying, hey, your kid was tipping pitches. Now, obviously, you're not trying to get him kicked out of baseball or released by the Minnesota Twins organization or anything like that. But I think having a coaching staff, and I don't know who their coaching staff was last year. I don't know if it's the same as what's going to be this year. I think there's some major integrity for the Lakeland staff to say, "Hey guys, just to let you know, your catcher was doing this." Okay, well, guess what? He's gone. He's gone. I'm sure they had their discussion, all that, but the MLB is investigating the incident. They're still investigating it, according to the Athletic. And Bender could face a permanent ban from the game. Good. Good. Now, I'm sure I've said this story a couple of times, whether it's just in a random conversation with my friends or I might even said on here. The one thing is with me, I'm the type of person where we're playing stickball, baseball, whatever form of baseball we're playing in the schoolyard, and we're down 10, 15 runs. And we're going to the top of the ninth. I'm still trying my hardest just to make the final score more palatable, or you never know, you might get that miracle comeback. You score 15 runs in that ninth inning and win 15-14, let's say, or something like that. You know, when I was a kid, I was a sore loser. And sometimes you have to learn to win with dignity and lose with class, all that stuff, where now if I lose, I'm okay with losing as long as it's a fair loss. Like for example, Super Bowl 57. Mike was sitting there, his stepson was here, one of my friends was here as well. I said, "That's a hold, game over." Some people question if it was a penalty or not. James Bradbury, it was a hold or whatever they called. I think it was a hold, but whatever the penalty was called, whatever the ref called, it's a penalty. Like that first penalty of the game that the Eagles had on fourth down. I told Mike, he was here with me, when A.J. Brown had that pass interference penalty. I said, that's a penalty. It's not pass interference. It's a face mask, but whatever it is, it's still a penalty, and you're going to have to punt either way. So, I saw the penalty something different from what the refs on the field did, but we still saw it as a penalty. But, but you know, but in this case here, um, but Bender said, "Oh, I had to go dark for at least 3 days. I had to make all my social media private because I was getting death threats and all that." Well, gee, you're messing with the integrity of the game. You're messing with some guys who probably won't get above that level in minor league baseball. Some guys who are there that are on their way to the big leagues. You're messing with them. Now, Bender did say he is trying to get back into professional baseball. He said he'll play for the Brockton Rocks of the Independent Frontier League. Now, if he's banned from Major League Baseball, I believe the Frontier League is an MLB affiliate league, so could he play in that league? Hmm. But he said he hadn't heard from any of his former teammates. Well, gee, I wonder why. There's a lot of times when you're talking with people that you thought were friends. They just don't look at you the same. I've heard my friends get questioned about me, why they're still friends with me. That's hard to hear. It's not like I'm getting accused of a crime. No, but the thing is, you're undermining uh, the integrity of a game. Even though I don't think, well, let me rephrase that. I'm sure you can find wagering on this game somewhere. Probably all sure. But that's why, like, example, like yesterday when I was talking about those guys at UNO and Fresno State, that's why they have these back networks that you don't think they have, where they can raise a red flag when a line shifts 4 or 5 points, and it's not an injury that's shifting the line. It's just a whole bunch of money that doesn't make sense. That sort of thing. That's why those basketball players are being investigated. Now, Bender told The Athletic the Twins were willing to keep him in the organization if he admitted to the accusations and apologized. He said he apologized, but he wouldn't say what he was apologizing for. So he must not have admitted that he did what he did. And even if he did, they probably said, well, you admitted it. That's what we thought. You're out. I don't know. But the only thing I had left was my character at that point. Literally, that's the way they put it was, if you want to die by the sword, we'll release you. I know there will be no bluffing involved. Now, his agents at Octagon told The Athletic they dropped Bender as a client because they had told him not to do any interviews until the MLB investigation is closed. Now, unlike Justin Tucker, who's talking to the media a couple of times, he's been on his X account or whatever, but Tucker's been in the league 13, 15 years. This kid, first pro season. Octagon did the right thing by cutting his ass because guess what? You did not listen to us. Plain and simple. All you had to do, just do not talk to any media. He did. He has no way. He's no longer represented by Octagon. He said he's trying to gain control over his life. And Mike says it best. Rookies shaking my head. Mike is shaking his head harder than Michael J. Fox right now. Um, so he was a catcher and a first baseman. He was selected 188th in 2024. That fell into the sixth round. He signed for $297,500, slightly below the $380,800 slot for that selection. Um, he will keep the entirety of his bonus after playing 19 games for Fort Myers, hitting 200 with 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. So, once again, don't say a word. And I can tell you from being on a jury duty case years ago, Patricia said, "Oh," she said, "leave him alone." No, he's a dumbass. And I don't like stupid people. Oh, the Michael J. Fox thing. Okay. Well, would you rather be Ed Rendell? Because he also has it. Or would you rather have it be Jim Ross? Right. Fuck you. Let me find it here. Um, And here you go. Here you go, Mike. Um, Actually, I do have a third picture, but I don't know where. I don't know. I mean, I know who it is, but I'm not going to say who that third person is. Um, but just to let you know, Ed, Ed, what did you think of my joke? Oops, hold on. There you go. SMH. And it was at this point that Mike was not allowed to come over on Monday nights anymore. I do have a third picture here. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but um, I'd have to find it. But oh, wait, I found it. I found it. So that means I got to share it. So there's one other person that I think this one is the most. Um, I think this is the most appropriate one because I think this is the one we can laugh at the most because of the fact um, that he did a couple of things that were not well well done, whether it's a dick pic or it was trying to steal public funding. There you go. There you go. Brett Favre shaking my head. I think that Brett Favre is the most palatable shaking my head meme that I have right now because no, you can't joke about Michael J. Fox. And then when I put Ed Rendell, Mike and I know who Ed Rendell is, and then most of the people that'll be watching will be saying this.
Who the fuck is that guy?
But then you have Brett Favre, where everybody knows that he's a scumbag between sending dick pics to Jen Sturger when she was working with the Jets when he was there, and stealing public funds for a volleyball arena, which were earmarked toward the less fortunate and stuff like that. So, so that is going to be it for this Thursday show. And man, did we go all over the place here? Action Labs was here, Mike was here, Bank Boy was here. Do appreciate everybody who joined me, even on X and on YouTube. We will be live Saturday morning for also eligible beginning at 10 a.m. looking at Santa Anita, Gulfstream, and Aqueduct. Um, mm, all right, so we're going to call it a night. I do appreciate everybody, and we'll do it live on Saturday. And if you're not available to join me Saturday morning, come back here Monday night here at twitch.tv/Joe Quills, and we'll see what trouble Mike and I get into on Monday night if he's allowed over after those shaking my head memes. So do appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Love you guys. I will see you guys in the winner circle. Hopefully again tomorrow because I said I'd be in the winner circle and I was today. And hopefully I'll be there again tomorrow. So have a great night, everybody. Have a great weekend. If I don't see you Saturday, and if not Saturday, then on Monday night in 22 hours, 94 hours, whatever it is. So whatever it is. Good night, everybody.